Also, overcommitting, taking on too much and ensuring burnout. I did this.
Mm-hmm.
I could take on, if someone wanted a project when things got busy, yes, I'll do it. I didn't want to turn it down.
Right.
I wouldn't really give them a long, or give myself a time window that was reasonable for myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to get it done as soon as possible because I wanted to meet their expectations.
Right.
I didn't want to let them down.
Right.
And so I took on all this, and all I was doing was stressing myself out.
Yes.
And it would constantly replay in my mind when I would go to work, when I wasn't working on the project. It's always just going and going, and I could feel this stress just sitting over me.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it was, I wouldn't say it was overwhelming, but it was always there.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on Before the Vows. My name is Robert, and this is my lovely wife, Monica.
Hi.
In this video, we're going to talk about why prodigals self-sabotage right when things start moving in the right direction or improving. And this is something that we've seen in reading some of these things, why the prodigal does it. Almost all of them match things that I did often. Yeah. And it was kind of eye-opening. And it brings a lot of revelation.
Well, I think it just kind of seems like it's all about self-protecting. Mm-hmm. Whether it's an avoidant or an anxious, mm-hmm. they're protecting themselves.
Yeah, because as we were reading them, you kind of thought it was pointing to you. Mm-hmm. Probably from your teenage years when you were younger?
Yeah, when I was younger. Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it now, it's like, oh, it's self-protection. And when we kind of explain, it makes mm-hmm. sense. And, it doesn't make things easier, but it helps you understand why.
Yeah,
it helps you understand that it's not you, it's not personal. Mm-hmm. It's the love that they have for you connects them to the love they wanted or that they were supposed to get from their caregivers. Mm-hmm. So
it doesn't make sense if you don't understand it or learn about it.
Right.
But once I started learning about it, and obviously the Lord was leading me in all of that, it just was making so much sense. I was like, oh my gosh, this is Robert. And oh my gosh, this is me. Yeah. Being able to see all that.
And it's very confusing and painful, and it can make you question everything God is doing. Mm-hmm. Maybe things that you're not seeing, or the little things that you might see movement in, you might question. Like, there seems to be, maybe you've calmed your emotions, your nervous system mm-hmm. is kind of okay in the moment, and then here comes this moment where your spouse self-sabotages everything, and so you start going, you start spiraling, your nervous system is, just kind of out of whack, and
right.
you want to, it's just, it makes sense now, but in the moment, mm-hmm. it's hard to understand.
It is really hard to understand. But as you're talking about it, like right now, we're talking about the prodigal self-sabotaging, right? But as you're saying it, I'm thinking, yeah, but the standard does it also. We self-sabotage. We because we're trying to protect ourselves too. So when we see something happening, we tend to get into our old ways and sabotage what the Lord is doing. But because we're in it, we don't understand it.
Yeah.
So that's something also, is that we can do it also.
And why do you think that is?
Well, I will say from myself, it was because I was like, if you were getting close to me, mm-hmm. and then, let me see. Okay, so if you're getting close to me and then you pull away again, I start getting emotional, mm-hmm. or I start maybe questioning, what are you doing, or what's happening? Like, you were just close to me yesterday, but instead of just, because that's my norm, is to question. My norm is to like help me through these feelings. I want you to help me through them. And so I start getting in there when the Lord has already told me not to ask questions, because I was getting in the way when I was doing that. Mm-hmm. And so, but because I'm sabotaging what God is doing, because I'm so used to doing it my way. I'm so used to seeing things the way I was used to seeing it, or taking control or the situation my way, right? Like, do you understand? Am I explaining it right?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is that because of that scenario, it will cause you to self-sabotage in acting out. to protect yourself.
Right. And then you, to protect yourself, because here I am starting to act this way, you're like, okay. And you like pull back again.
Yeah. And we'll give you some situations. But once, like as you said earlier, once you start understanding the internal war inside your spouse, their behavior stops looking like rejection.
Right.
And it starts looking like the fear, the shame, and the spiritual conflict within them. The double-mindedness that Scripture talks about, right? And as you said before, your double-mindedness looked a little different.
Right.
But it was more about questioning God, wanting to stand, but then wanting to come off your stand.
Well, I think that for you, the double-mindedness was, I don't want to be with you anymore. I want to...
The push-pull.
The push-pull. Well, my push-pull was the same, but it was with the Lord. It wasn't with you.
That's a good one.
Yours is with me. Mine is with the Lord.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, Lord, I want to. No, I don't want to, Lord. Yes, I'm going to do this, Lord. No, I'm not going to do this, Lord.
Yeah.
That's where mine was.
Yeah, and that's good. You've never said that before. That's a good example. So the self-sabotage in a relationship, it refers to the conscious or the unconscious behaviors that undermine your own well-being, goals, or connection with your spouse. And it often involves actions that can push love away, like avoiding intimacy. This is something that we see with in the situation of the marriage. Creating conflict, which is something I did often.
Yeah.
I would create conflict to create the separation.
Yeah.
And looking into the self-sabotaging and realizing, like, I did that a lot. I would create arguments. I would get upset. This was before your stand.
Right.
But that's what I would do. And I was just self-sabotaging the situation because I wanted to create this conflict to avoid it.
Yeah, and I bought it. I fell right into it every time.
Yeah.
Because I would just fight you on it all the time.
So again, it's creating the conflict or withdrawing. And despite wanting the relationship to work, the behaviors can stem from fear of abandonment, past trauma, and low self-esteem. And you talked about that, and you said, I never thought you had low self-esteem. I never did either. But looking back now, I can see where I was trying to maintain this image of a very confident person. But when I look back in high school, I was very timid. I was very shy. And I think part of it was just a low self-esteem.
Yeah.
I didn't, I didn't really think that much of myself.
Well, and I didn't get that particular, I didn't get that from the Lord that you had low self-esteem. It's when the Lord was directing me to read on the addictions and when the Lord was directing me to read on the attachment styles from the childhood. Yeah. And as I was reading that, then I was like, oh my gosh, that I can see the low self-esteem in the actions. In your actions. Yeah. That's how I was able to see that. Yeah. But I was like, but it also says that your attachment style comes off very confident, that you appear confident, but but it's not.
Yeah. It's really something where you're trying to project a certain image to keep that, to really counter that, right? So why it happens is self-sabotage is often a self-protection mechanism. If someone has experienced neglect, abuse, or inconsistent care in the past, their nervous system may interpret closeness as risky and triggering withdrawal or conflict to regain control. This can create a cycle where the same behaviors repeat, damaging trust and connection over time. And the creating the conflict to regain control is one thing because it's what I knew, it's what I grew up in. And so I created that same atmosphere, but also that's how I knew to communicate. I wanted you to meet me on my territory rather than, this is where we've heard communication is key.
Right.
Knowing how to communicate is key. It's meeting in the middle. I'm not saying where I'm going to be this mad and I'm going to tone it down a little bit. It's meeting in the middle as far as understanding why. Of course, those moments we're not wanting to talk about it. But in the future, or for those of you that are struggling and you have your spouse in the home and, there's this possible reconciliation, it's taking this into consideration and talking things out.
Right. Well, we can say that in this place now.
Right.
But even before, right? When even things were kind of good for us, we still didn't know how to communicate, but then even when we would try, we still weren't trying to hear each other.
No.
I just wanted you to like hear me, hear what I'm asking of you,
Right.
and you're like, no, hear me, hear what I'm asking of you, and we still weren't like we'd have good days, but it wasn't like a consistent where we're trying to really hear each other.
Yeah.
So we didn't know how to communicate.
Yeah, and it's funny as you're saying that. It's when you have God in the center of it. There is a judge who is keeping the courtroom, keeping everything calm.
Right.
When the judge is not present, you have two attorneys fighting for their side, and all you're hearing is objection, objection, and you don't hear overruled or sustained,
Right.
which it's just the image of two lawyers going at it with no one to stop them. And you're trying to fight for your defendant or the plaintiff, whatever it is.
Right.
You're fighting for your client, and nobody's there to really regulate the flow of things. But when you have Christ in the center,
Right.
the judge will step in and help to mediate, will bring calm to the stormy situation. So.
Right. And that calm might be where only one attorney is gonna follow that. Where the other one wants to keep, fighting and keep saying what he's saying. And that's what it is with the stander and the prodigal. Is the stander is the one, we've said it over and over, the stander is the one who is hearing the Lord. Right. Who is seeking the Lord. Right. Some say they don't hear the Lord, but who's seeking the Lord, whereas the prodigal absolutely is not trying to.
Right, yeah. So the first thing we want to point out is your spouse does not self-sabotage because things are bad. They self-sabotage because things are good.
Yeah.
Which when I saw that, it's like, wow, that's crazy, but it's so true. And when things get better, when communication softens, we've seen this many times in the false starts. This is what probably leads to this false starts is they feel they're getting closer, and it feels like this could potentially be reconciliation, but then all of a sudden there's a switch that's flipped, right? And so it seems like things are getting better, and when communication softens, when they show affection, when they come around more, when sometimes something inside of them just kind of said, like the alarms go off.
Yeah.
They panic. And so why is this? Because goodness exposes their wounds. People who are used to criticism or rejection feel unsafe when treated kindly.
Yeah, which is really crazy because we've been together 20 plus years. And I can say, I think you can agree, our first 10 years, we can say for sure, I didn't criticize. I didn't do any of that. I was kind, right? And that's probably it's just, but you were not used to that. You didn't know how to handle that.
Well, I think you questioned a lot. Of course, I gave you a lot of reasons to question. I did. But the questioning is what was reminding me of my time as a child. Right.
Yeah. And I'm saying I did it right at that time. I'm just saying I didn't fight a lot that much. I did question a lot, but I didn't fight a lot. But I still wasn't taking it to the Lord. I didn't know the Lord at that time.
Right.
So I was doing it all on my own.
Yeah, and I was stuck in my, I wasn't a prodigal, so to speak. I mean, I was a prodigal in the Lord's eyes, but not with you. And, it was very difficult in our 20s. Yeah. A lot of chaos. So, again, because the goodness exposes wounds. So people who are used to criticism or rejection feel unsafe when treated kindly. Love exposes their shame. If someone believes they are unworthy of love, receiving love feels threatening. Peace exposes their guilt. When a prodigal encounters peace, your steadiness, forgiveness, or calm presence, it highlights the guilt that they're carrying. And hope exposes their fear. Hope implies the possibility of change, restoration, or success. But change requires risks, vulnerability, and the chance of failure. So it's, and those are one of the, those are some of the issues that we were talking about. I have it saved here. Let me So, common forms of self-sabotage. Here, there's a list of procrastination, delaying tasks to avoid discomfort or failure or fear failure. Perfectionism, setting unrealistically high standards for that prevent progress. Another thing is negative self-talk. All of these things I did. Negative self-talk, internal criticism that undermines confidence. Anytime I would mess up, still do it, and not as often, but I catch myself like, "Oh, way to go, dummy! You idiot! I can't believe you did that."
You do that all the time.
I did that quite a bit, and especially when I was doing projects, really a lot of things. I would have that internal self-talk or that self-talk, and well, sometimes I said it out loud too.
Yeah.
But,
sorry. But I used to always wonder, like, why does he always say that? Because I don't do that. But you did it just so naturally.
Yeah.
Like, you did it all the time with yourself. You weren't going around calling anybody else idiot. But, well.
Let's not go there, Monica.
Maybe when you're on the road.
Yeah. But we've talked about that.
Yeah.
So, also overcommitting, taking on too much and ensuring burnout. I did this. I could take on, if someone wanted a project when things got busy, yes, I'll do it. I didn't want to turn it down.
Right.
I wouldn't really give them a long, or give myself a time window that was reasonable for myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to get it done as soon as possible because I wanted to meet their expectations.
Right.
I didn't want to let them down.
Right.
And so I took on all this, and all I was doing was stressing myself out.
Yes.
And it would constantly replay in my mind when I would go to work, when I wasn't working on the project. It's always just going and going. And I could feel this stress just sitting over me. And sometimes it was, I wouldn't say it was overwhelming, but it was always there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, taking on too much is something that
and then even if I brought it to you and was like, honey, like give a longer time frame, or you just would not listen to that because you're putting this expectation on yourself, and I couldn't convince you otherwise. Yeah. So that's something that I needed to learn to give to the Lord, because you weren't receiving it at the time, even though I mean well, but it's just how you function. Yeah. And that's something that the Holy Spirit has to show you that. Yeah.
And when you say giving it to the Lord, that's one thing that we've learned is it helps to release this, to go and talk it out. Yeah. And journaling was one of those things, is to help, voice what you want to, maybe to your spouse, but because they're not in a position, or maybe you're not in contact with them, but taking it to the Lord or journaling it helps you express what you want to your spouse, but in a different way. That way you're not leaving it bottled up. You can take it to the Lord, your frustrations, cast all your cares on him, for he cares for you, right? So it's giving him everything and releasing. Don't hold that in. So I'm glad you brought that up. So prodigals, what seems like they are, but they're not running from you. They're running from what being close to you makes them feel inside. And like we just talked about how I would take on all these projects, and if I wasn't, if it seemed like it was taking too long, it would just sit there. So it was just affecting me.
Right.
So I could get triggered easily. Right. I could get frustrated easily.
Well, if we bring it a little bit closer, the house projects, those are constantly on your mind, and you can get really irritated because of that. Yep.
Yeah. So again, they're running from what being close to you makes them feel. So spiritually speaking, and we've said this before, is many times the prodigal, your spouse has to get to that dark place, because that's when they can see the light.
Yeah.
And in that, when the light gets close, the flesh starts to react to it. So it's one thing that you want to really take control of the situation, because it doesn't look like what you want it to. It doesn't feel safe for you many times, right? Because you're prodigal, your nervous system is now reacting to the environment, and you're feeling those feelings of rejection, of abandonment as well. So But this is, again, where you take it to the Lord, and the Lord deals with the prodigal in a different way.
Right. Well, and I think the last sentence you just read, what did you just say? You said it makes it, no, maybe how you run from us because how it makes you feel.
Right. Running from...
They're running from what being close to you makes them feel inside. Mm-hmm. So when I would go before the Lord about it, right? The Lord said he's running, and it's so simple, but you can't see it. I could not see it or hear it or whatever until the Lord revealed it to me when he said he's running from me before he's running from you. Mm-hmm. So that right there, you're running from the Lord because how the Lord makes you feel inside. It's because you don't want that feel, like you don't want to disappoint the Lord. You don't want to feel, I don't know, it's just kind of like, it's against the Lord first than it is me. But you're not thinking that at the time.
Yeah, no, you're running from the conviction. You don't want to feel,
there you go.
You don't want to feel,
yeah.
You don't want anybody telling you what you're doing wrong. And having that belief in the Lord and knowing the conviction that comes with his word, and getting into his presence, you're running from that.
Yeah.
You don't want anything or anyone reminding you. So another reason is shame feels safer in the dark. And you have all these feelings that you're running from. And there were moments when I did feel this, when I felt some conviction or felt... I wouldn't say conviction. It was looking back and realizing, okay, what am I doing? Or I can't believe I did that. When I stood in front of my son and he was crying,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to face that. I didn't want to. So yes, you run to darkness because you don't want to see the light. You don't want to see everything. Running from conviction, right? Mm-hmm. So prodigals carry deep, unspoken shame, right? So shame says to them, I don't deserve this. It can also say, I've hurt you too much. If I get close, you'll see how broken I really am. That's why I hid what happened to me as a child. Mm-hmm. I didn't want... It was embarrassing. Mm-hmm. It was very shameful. And I thought it was going to ruin your image of me. And so I never said anything. Mm-hmm. And it took your stand, my season, coming to the end of myself to realize, well, I'm at the bottom of my barrel. What else can I do to get worse? I mean, I could have gotten worse, right? But in that moment, I was at that the most vulnerable spot of my life, and it was easier to speak on those things, to be honest, and it was freeing too. Mm-hmm. So when things get better, shame whispers. Run, hide, push them away before they see the real you. Mm-hmm. So this is why a prodigal can have a good moment with you on Monday, but then by Wednesday, they're cold, distant, and even hostile.
Right.
So it's not the moment that scared them. Mm-hmm. It's the vulnerability that moment created.
Right. I think, and this is where it's so important, how the Lord it was so important on how I was going to react with that coldness, with that distance, with the hostility, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was really important how I was going to handle that. Because, okay, I handled Monday okay because you're good and loving and kind towards me. But now when you're distant, how am I going to be in that? Well, I've got to be so connected to the Lord that the Lord has already taught me, has taught me already how to react to you, how to act. And I couldn't let it move me anymore. Yeah. That's what's important. That's mm-hmm. what's key.
Yeah. Another reason is fear of hope. Prodigals fear hope more than pain. Pain feels predictable. Hope feels dangerous. Hope says maybe restoration is possible. Maybe God is still writing your story. Maybe you're not as far gone as you think. Mm-hmm. And again, with this, takes me back to the story of the Exodus, where they were given this hope or this promise, mm-hmm. the promised land. And when they came into that stressful environment, before they crossed the Red Sea, when there was bitter water, when they were complaining about the food, all three of those stressful situations, they went back to a familiar pain. They went back to something that they felt safe in
Mm-hmm.
because it was predictable,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was painful. It was the fear of the unknown, fear of hope,
Yeah.
right? So it's crazy how our minds work, um, but hope also demands change, and change demands courage, and courage demands surrender. And this is where the story of the Exodus comes in. So they feared that hope of the promise, but were familiar with the pain that they had endured in
Mm-hmm.
Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of facing hope, many prodigals sabotage it, and they pick fights. That was me.
Mm-hmm.
They withdraw. That was me. They run to old coping mechanisms. That was me. They not because they don't want to restore. We just, again, we're afraid of those things, and we don't know how. Hope terrifies us,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really weird when you look back and think about everything that was taking place, and just understanding why I was doing what I was doing, how now it makes sense. It still hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt you. It even caused me some pain knowing that I did all this. But again, I didn't want to sit in that.
Right.
I didn't want to sit in that vulnerability and
Right.
say, "Oh, you messed up again." So it's
Mhm.
like, okay, just forget that. That's why I didn't want to talk about anything, because it was going to remind me of how bad I treated you before.
Mhm.
So it's like, let's just drop it. Never
Yeah.
talk about it. It was a void after a void
Mhm.
after a void after a void. Nothing gets done
Yeah.
because I don't want to be reminded of how ugly I was to you,
Right.
how I created that fight.
Mm-hmm. And I would just sit in it, and resentment would build up before the stand. There would be resentment and anger and all this stuff because I wasn't able to talk to you about it. And then so I would just be mad because I wasn't turning to the Lord and giving it to the Lord.
Yeah.
But in this stand, I was. And what's so crazy is that as I'm giving it to Him, as the hurt is more and more from you, and I'm giving it to Him, He's giving me a love for you that I've never had before. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
So weird.
So another reason is the enemy attacks most when God is moving. And again, you said that not that the Lord was leading you not to give the enemy too much credit,
Mm-hmm.
but also we have to recognize that there is an enemy out there,
Mm-hmm.
and he is like the roaring lion,
Mm-hmm.
seeking whom he may devour, and he looks for the weak. He preys on the weak. Many times during a stand, you can understand that maybe that's one of the most weakest moments in your life, especially
Mm-hmm.
if you're not connected to the Lord.
Right.
If you're trying to do things on your own,
Mm-hmm.
your way. But when you're connecting to the Lord, it gives you, would you say, some strength,
Oh, absolutely.
guidance,
Mm-hmm.
blueprint. So all the tools that you need to navigate, still going to be very difficult,
Right.
but you have tools. So when you're not connected to the Lord, you refuse to use His tools.
Yeah.
And you want to use your own tools.
Use your own, yeah.
Right?
And my own is to fight back.
Yeah.
My own is to, give you what you're giving me.
Yeah.
Those are my tools.
And that's understandable. You get in your emotion, but it's not going to fix anything.
No. Mm-mm.
It'll be a much difficult process.
Right. Yeah. And there's and I thought I marked it earlier because I was going to read it to somebody, but somewhere in my journal, I wrote where the Lord said, nothing the enemy has him doing matters. And it's like when you hear that from the Lord, you're like, okay, because the Lord is in control.
Right.
He's in control. He's allowing or He's orchestrating, right? So it's like He's in control of it. And at the same time, He's directing me on how to do all of this, how to handle this.
Yeah. Yeah. Another reason is identity conflict. Prodigals have lived in a false identity for so long, but so has the standard.
Yeah.
Right? So the identity of failure, of confusion, or escape. And that, when they step toward home, they feel like imposters. They feel like they've put on a show. And I can say that is something that I felt. Of course, you did remind me sometimes that I was kind of a phony. I don't know that you ever used that
During
word.
The stand?
No, before.
Oh, okay. I was like trying to remember.
No, not during the stand.
Oh.
But
when I would say if people really knew
like
that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are things that really cut deep. Of course, I did the same thing to you. I cut
Yeah.
you deep with insults as well.
Mhm.
But it's just crazy just realizing that those were just ways for you to also protect
Mhm.
yourself and to deflect
Mhm.
whatever I might be.
Yeah, but I was also trying to make you feel really guilty because I thought maybe if I said these things, it was going to make you snap out of it or make you change or something.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
changed me. I got mad. I got more upset. So
Yeah.
mission accomplished, right? So we start to think, or the prodigal starts to think that this isn't me, which I had those doubts quite often.
Mhm.
I don't know how to be healthy. Did you want to say something?
Well, yeah, I did because when we're talking about the identity and so my identity, I feel like I was true to myself, true to who I was, but I wasn't the godly woman that I was created to be. That's where my identity was lost. But with you, I feel like yours was just not so much about who you are in the Lord, but just who you are in general. I feel like your identity was different a little bit. Like, or no, was it the same? Like, were you coming from a place of who you were in the Lord, or just who am I in general?
In moments, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think when the times that I was fully in His Word, those
Mm-hmm.
times where I was fasting, when I felt like I had the presence of the Lord near me because I was so, my prayer time, my reading, listening to sermons, all of that's all I did. Those, I knew who I was in the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was moments when I would drift away and I lost who I was, and then I would revert back to what I knew.
Right, because drifting away, honey, when you would drift away, it was like there was lies, there were secrets, there was these things that you're creating or that you have to now remember because you've given me, right? I didn't live in that. Like I didn't do that. So you could say I was honest. But my identity in the Lord wasn't there. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, was it more of a, um,
Well, there are two different wounds. We both grew up in two different
so that's what I'm
environments.
saying.
So yeah, we're going to have two different identity crises.
Yes.
And yeah, so
yeah, because what I think what we're finding out is a lot of the standards are realizing that they were not who they were in the Lord, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the prodigals are coming from it seems like it's a little bit, I don't want to say deeper, but kind of like it's a little bit like, who even am I?
Mm-hmm.
That's I guess what I'm trying to get
at.
at.
It all depends on the scenario.
Yeah.
It depends on the environment they were in. Some are much more severe than others, so
Mm-hmm.
that is going to be a bigger or a more traumatic effect on them as they get older or
Right.
in this time.
Right.
So, and they can also think that I don't know how to be loved, or they can think I don't know how to be a spouse anymore. And again, it's part of the identity.
Mm-hmm.
So they sabotage the progress because the progress feels foreign to them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't
Right.
recognize it. So they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting the version of themselves that they don't believe they can become.
Yeah.
And that was something I could remember thinking about, like, am I ever going to break this? Am I ever?
Mm-hmm.
So I was stuck in this identity based on my childhood that I carried with me.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason is they don't trust the good yet. Prodigals expect consequences. And this is, again, part of course, there's going to be consequences, but to say consequences, I think, is what you're really thinking, rather than coming up with something different, a safer term. Consequences is one of the reasons why I lie all the time,
Mm-hmm.
because I knew there were consequences,
Mm-hmm.
rather than, let's just talk about it, knowing, understanding that what I did, whatever it may have been, if I had admitted that I drank one time,
Mm-hmm.
being safe with you and just say, hey, when I was here, I did, drink or whatever, but I knew if I was going to be open, there was going to be consequences,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was always a fear. So it's like, just lie,
Mm-hmm.
don't even be honest. So they expect anger,
Mm-hmm.
they expect rejection, because that's what I got when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
They expect you to bring the past up.
Yeah.
Which you did.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I did all of that. I did all of that.
So there's the trauma from childhood, and then the trauma that we're now creating in each other
Mhm.
during our
Right.
relationship.
Right.
And so when you respond with grace, patience, kindness, which is what you started to do,
Mhm.
again, it wasn't a perfect stand, but it was a really good stand. You say there were times when you kind of went off course, but you really did um, stay connected to the Lord. And I saw that. I can look back and say that I've said it so many times that you were key in it. Of course, we give all the glory to God.
Mhm.
But the fact that you stayed on that path, you stayed committed to the Lord, you allowed Him to work through you, to work on you first so that He can work through you,
Mhm.
to be that safe place. It's not, well, I'm just going to be quiet. It's
Right.
also picking up your tone, your body language, and
Yeah.
it's just like, I saw the humbleness on you.
Mhm.
I saw, and it wasn't, you didn't walk around defeated.
Mhm.
There were times when you were upset or hurt, but you didn't walk around like that. And you could tell, like, there was, not that you were all jolly,
Yeah.
but you were just, the Lord was giving you strength, and
Mhm.
you could see that for sure.
Yeah.
Because I've seen when you've looked defeated, and when you have this stress on you,
Mhm.
and in most of those moments you didn't. So that was creating the good atmosphere for
Mhm.
me. And so when you're being nice, when you're being patient, when you're being gracious, and all those things,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it confused me, but it was something that was different.
Yeah. Well,
It
yeah, I
was
knew it in
this.
me
Who
too.
is this?
Mhm.
Where's Monica? This person is not the same person.
Right.
And I recognize that. So
Yeah.
again, it's no longer, I can't point to you. It's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah. Then
Yeah.
it becomes this.
Mhm. Especially because I needed to stay consistent in it.
Mhm.
Well, also because the Lord was directing me, right?
Right.
I say that all the time. It was my obedience to the Lord now. But that consistency is where you started, like, I wasn't up and down anymore. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty much how I was the whole time.
Yeah.
And sometimes people do think, when you said about not just remaining silent,
Right.
there's a difference in, like, not asking the questions, just kind of, being very present for you. But then there's some people think, well, I'm just not going to ask questions then, and I'm just going to be quiet. But you see the attitude all over the face, or there's some attitude in them. That's another thing. It's like not having attitude. The Lord doesn't want you to be giving attitude while you're doing this.
Yeah.
Either.
Well, and that I would say, to get that anger out in your prayer closet is okay.
Right. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
But keep it there, right?
Right.
I wanted to say consistency. You said consistency. That was key,
Mhm.
because you could be good for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of days, but if you created that one,
Mhm.
and again, it's not justifying. I'm not.
Right.
But if there was 1 week that you were inconsistent,
Mhm.
well, back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
For me,
Right.
it would have, again, prolonged the process.
Right.
Would have, caused me to push pull again.
Right. And again, I was not perfect in it, and there was those times where I did, do something the Lord told me not to do, and as I'm hearing, don't do it, stop, don't do it, stop, I'm doing it. And then, like I've said, that's where I'm crying and I'm repenting, coming and having to tell you I'm sorry. And it did push you back. It pushed you back a little bit, and you had to gain that trust again.
Yep.
And I had to learn to be consistent again. It's like God kept giving me another opportunity to, like, okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's another chance.
And that can be very tiring for the stander if
Yeah.
it's just being repeated, and
Right.
it's not fair. But like you said, you're the one seeking the Lord.
Right.
it's-
God is asking me to do this, not
Yeah.
you. That's what I had to remind myself all the time. Or the Lord actually would remind me of that.
Yeah. So again, they can think that you're too good to be true, or they're being nice now, but it won't last.
hmm
I'll mess up everything eventually.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That's how I lived before, because I would, like, you and I used to play this game with each other, and we've probably mentioned it before. But, like, when I had the upper hand before the stand, when you did something wrong and I was mad and I, was going to be upset with you, and you're all about me now. Now I have the upper hand and I'm going to, like, take advantage of that. And then you're like, okay, enough of this. And so now, now you're like with the upper hand, and I'm all about you. And it's like that's kind of how we just did it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we just played that game with each other, and that was just a mess.
Yeah. And so because of this, we sabotage, or the prodigal will sabotage the good before it even has a chance to grow. And yeah, it's very unfair, but it's a preemptive strike against disappointment. It's, well, let me do this before we get to that point. Let me do this before we even I even have the chance of letting them down. So it's it's just crazy when we look back in the middle of it. We're not recognizing that. I'm not, for sure. But just doing this and understanding the attachment styles, the wounds, and the language behind all of it, it's really brought a lot of clarity for our situation, but it also helps us to speak into others about their situation. So it's really awesome. And one of the last points is what this means for the stander. Their self-sabotage is not a sign that you have failed. It's a sign of movement. And we've seen that. We saw that today with someone that we met with, how there's little movements. It's hard to see it. It's hard to see it when you're in it. But my goodness, when we hear some of these stories, it's like, thank God. There's some movement there. You can see it. You can see it. And it's difficult for the stander to see it, but it is so amazing to see that the Lord is working. God has really got a hold of this stander. The stander has just said, Lord, I'm going to put my trust in you, and I'm going to have, but I don't see movement. Well, it's hard. You know, it's like you're in the sea and all these waves. It's like, I don't see any calm, you know, and there's got to be some water in there that is not as choppy as the big wave you might be on. So there's some little movement. It's hard to see.
Well, I think what's funny is when they talked about something that happened, and then you and I both caught it at the same moment, and you just put your hands over your face, or I put my head down, like I was like, oh my gosh, and you're like, oh my gosh, and at the same time we were like, how do you not see this?
But I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, that's something to hold on to.
Yeah. And I get it. When I was in it, it was so hard to see it. And the only way that I saw it was because the Lord was telling me, look at what is and not what isn't. I've said that a bazillion times already. But that is truly what I held on to. Because every day, you know, I say every day because you weren't drawing closer to me every day. But it's like any movement towards me was you drawing closer. And that's how the Lord was having me see everything.
Yeah. So what this means with the little movement is God is stirring their heart, their walls are cracking, and their identity is shifting, their shame is surfacing, their hope is working up. And it may not seem like that, or it may not look like that, but there are small little movements when these things are happening. It's it looks really bad when we're self-sabotaging and the way we go about it. But to see, okay, now understand why they're doing it. They're getting a little closer, but now they're putting up this defense mechanism. So how does the Lord want to use me to help bring those walls down? And when we talk about the walls of Jericho, it's like, hey, just walk around. I'll do it. And so it's really just allowing the Lord to guide you in all this.
Well, and as you say that, I think about how early in my stand when the Lord said, you're going to get up and walk this thing out. That's what I was going to do. He was going to have me walk it out, but his way. He was going to give me the instructions, and it's whether or not I was going to follow him or not. Yeah.
And self-sabotage, we'll leave with this, is often the last defense mechanism before breakthrough. Again, it's also how the stander responds to the self-sabotage. Responding with grace and patience is important. Creating that safe environment. Letting your spouse know that you're safe. Not by a phone call or a text, but allowing them to feel that you're safe. It allows them to again, they have no one else to blame but themselves. And this is common with prodigals who have similar attachment styles and have gone through this. I can speak to it, and some of the other standards have spoken very similarly about their prodigal. So it's really amazing when you allow the Lord to just reveal these things to you and let Him guide you. So prodigals don't sabotage because they don't care. They sabotage because they're scared, they're ashamed, they're conflicted, and there's a lot of spiritual confusion within them. There's a lot of chaos, the double-mindedness.
Right.
So imagine there's two different minds. The double-mindedness,
Mm-hmm.
there's two different minds, and they're clashing.
Yeah.
And so that's what it looks like internally.
Mm-hmm.
But God is bigger than their fear.
Mm-hmm.
God is deeper than their shame. God is stronger than their sabotage.
Absolutely. And
when you understand the battle inside of them, you can understand with compassion instead of confusion, and with peace instead of panic, and with faith instead of frustration. Restoration isn't blocked by sabotage, and it often comes very soon after that. Again, depending on how you respond to that, there's a lot to be said. It's not going to look the same for everybody. It might be a little bit different. So that there's a lot more into that. But
yeah, and I think there was something that you said in there. I think, and when you understand the battle inside of them, that's for us to understand, the standard to understand, because you don't understand it. You don't really care to understand it, and even if I try to bring it to you and tell you, "Oh, you're sabotaging," or
I'm glad you said that.
Like you're sabotaging everything, and I know why you're doing this, and I try to explain it all to you. You think I have lost my mind. You don't care. You're in this state. A prodigal, most of the time, some will say their prodigals care, and they might be more of an anxious attachment style person. Even, I mean, I guess an avoidant one might care also, but for the most part, you were pretty. I'll speak on ours. You were pretty shut off, and you did not care. I couldn't explain anything to you, and so to that. That is for me to know. All this stuff is for me to understand and know, and help me walk this walk with the Lord.
Yeah.
Give me a better understanding of what's going on with you, because trying to explain it to you, you are not.
Right. Yeah. Good point. This is educational purposes for the standard.
Yeah.
If we've seen this, should I send this to my prodigal? Well, if the Lord is leading you to, if they ask for it, definitely. But don't do it because you want this to be a remedy for what they're going through. Eventually, they you might be able to share with them, but with me, if you had sent me the video, I take it as, oh, there's a problem with me.
Yeah.
Monica's criticizing me.
Right.
Here we go again.
Right.
I'm not going to talk to you when I get home. So, different stages, I would have responded differently, but for the most part, I was going to take it negatively.
Yeah, you were. I mean, I couldn't even send God's word to you.
No.
But that was the Lord telling me not to, right? But because you weren't going to want it. So when you started sending it to me, or then I could acknowledge it or whatever. But yeah, our story, I could not send a video to you. It just wasn't it wasn't what I was supposed to do.
Yeah. Good point. Again, we just thank you all for tuning in, for watching till the end. And as always, feel free to reach out to us. We will be praying for each and every one of you. We didn't go live today or Wednesday on the 8th because technical difficulties. We may not be live for a couple of weeks, but we will
on Wednesdays.
Yeah. We will still be live on Saturdays, 7:30. So we can't wait to see you on date night. Until then, God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye.